Let me take you back to a time when internet wasn't part of our lives. If we have to send a message, there were no clicks, no click buttons. We had either to be there in person or we have to wait for a postman. There were no barcode scanners in Woolies or Coles. Yes, I'm talking about 1980s, my childhood back in India. When I was growing in a town like Richmond, where everybody knew each other. One evening, we were invited to a party at my best friend's place. And like a normal party, there was food, there was speeches, and there was laughter. And then a round of applause, which kept on just a bit too long. You know that kind of clapping that says, congratulations and good luck, because we genuinely have no idea what you are going to do from here. And as a kid, I didn't fully understand. I thought I just knew that something big had happened in my best friend's grandfather's life. And honestly speaking, to me, it looked amazing because it was an absolute freedom. No alarms, no schools, no homework. Plenty of cartoon shows on TV, only sports, and I have not to be there anywhere. So it looked like a government sponsored, never ending summer vacation. And for a while, it actually was, until people around him went back to their normal routines, but he didn't. He didn't lose his abilities, he didn't lose his health. He just lost a purpose, a reason to wake up in the morning. And that stayed with me. Retirement has given him rest, but no relevance. That day planted a seed, which a question which kept evolving in my head. And years later, I realized that he didn't need retirement. He needed something else. Retirement. Yes, he needed retirement. Remember this word. We'll come back to it. After fast forward to my life in Australia. After 30 years, I moved to Australia. And then living in Australia, I started observing the similar kind of pattern. People in my parents' generations were getting retired happily. A house paid off, a well maintained garden, maybe a Europe trip in a cruise, or a caravan trip around Australia. And they were living a good life, but a life mostly slowing down. And nothing was wrong. But the world had evolved, but the retirement hadn't. And last year, I turned 45. And something changed overnight. Not my reading glasses yet. So, what changed? Every conversation around me looked like it's happening some financial counseling sessions, whether it's family gatherings, whether it's workplace lunches, or even at kids' birthday parties. People started whispering, "Hey, what's your number? Do you think 67 looks realistic? Do you think my super will have enough that I'll be able to survive? Will I get pension? Or shall I start investing in goats or sheeps? Or not yet? Because the market is a bit different now." So what stuck with me that it wasn't the frequency that people were talking about it. It was their tone. There was no excitement, no curiosity. It was just fear and Excel spreadsheet numbers. You know, sometimes it looks like we all are moving towards an invisible wall without even knowing what's on the other side. And most surprisingly, people in their 20s and late 20s were also talking about early retirement. But what they meant, they wanted freedom, they wanted choices, they wanted to live a life at their own terms. It was the same word, but different meanings. Because the retirement had, so the world had evolved, but the idea hadn't. And before go forward, uh, let me ask you to do an exercise to let you know how it looks like to you. Close your eyes just for a short moment and imagine your ideal days without any retirement number, without any age, without any retirement rules. What are you doing in that life? Think about yourself, what you kept postponing. Think about something which you want to do Now open your eyes. Notice that image, that feeling. For some, it can be farming. For others, it can be teaching, mentoring, or starting something new. That's your identity. It's not a retirement fantasy. It's you, your identity, what you want to be. And before we go further, we need to understand that how all of retirement started. It started in 19th century, late 19th century, when life expectancy was shorter and the work used to be physically demanding. During that time, basically the government essentially said, "Oh, you have worked hard. Now you can take some quiet years." It made sense then. But now, when we are living 20, 30, or 40 years beyond that checkpoint, does it make sense now? No, it doesn't. So that's why it looks quite misaligned. Because, the idea of retirement that stayed, well, it stayed retired. And then it hit me that the whole concept of retirement, it's what if the work is not the problem? What if age is not the problem? What if the real problem is the sudden stop? And if you will think from the other perspective, that sudden stop, sometimes a few words define that sudden stop. So if you think about the word retire, you start feeling like, oh, am I already tired? Or are my tires gone flat? So the word itself is creating something, a kind of psychological feeling in our mind that it is something forced, it's something which is given by the public, or it's not, it's kind of a full stop where we are heading to. And in that case, I went for a quest of another word, a newer version of it, which is reattirement. When you think about retirement, it's like redressing, reshaping yourself, and re-emerging. So it's kind of a transition and it's self-chosen. We don't need to wait for anything, any person to say, oh, now you're retired, you're 67, you're retired. You can retire yourself whenever you can. It's chosen by you. It looks your own. Let me give you an example. I had a colleague of mine and she was 50 years old, marketing executive. And she was smart, successful, and respected. Once she told me she always wanted to write children's books. And with that sentence, like many of us, she paired that dream with a sentence. One day, when life will slow down, I'll write those books. And then one evening, over a coffee, she suddenly stopped during conversation and said, hey, what if I retire and I regret that the only thing I kept postponing in my life is my dream, my identity, and myself? She wasn't questioning her work. She wasn't questioning her abilities or intentions. She was just questioning the time frame to start. And nothing dramatic happened after that. She didn't quit. She didn't make any public announcements. She didn't go on LinkedIn and posted any articles. She just went home, opened her laptop, and she started writing. She wrote this week for 20 minutes, only 20 minutes. Next week, she wrote again for 20 minutes. There were few weeks she didn't even write a single sentence, and there were few weeks where she wrote a full page. The weeks when she didn't write a single sentence, she promised herself that she will come back and she will write again tomorrow. And she kept that promise, and that mattered because that transition that came in her, that matters. A few months later, she published a book, and now she mentors young writers. She has already transformed herself into a new life before retirement, and that overlap, that transition, that is retirement. And here is why that overlap matters. It's not because we lack motivation, it's not because we make poor choices, it's because life plays a game quietly with us, a trade off which we don't even realize. We don't lack money, we don't lack time, we don't lack energy. What we have, we rarely have all three of these at the same time. And that's where the problem starts. And that's the irony of life, which most of us have already accepted. During our youth, we have a lot of energy and we have a lot of time, but most of us don't have enough money. When we reach our prime, we still have energy, and because we have started earning, we have money too. But by that time, we start lacking time. And in a traditional retirement structure, we have money because by then we have earned enough. And because of the structure of retirement, we will have time too. But by that time, the energy starts fading. So, again, if you'll see all three phases, we don't have all three of it at the same time. But what if I say that there is a structure there too, where we can have all three at the same time? We can have an overlap where all three exist, not by accident, but we can design it. We can craft it ourselves. Life of health, life of curiosity, and a life of choice. So if you'll see, after our traditional retirement, we cannot do a trade-off of energy, which we don't have, with time and money. But if we start a bit early during our prime years, by that time we have money, we have energy too. And we can easily do a trade off of money and energy for time. We need to find that time, that flexibility during our prime years. And when we start, it's on us. Time and flexibility to do something small or big, but meaningful in the direction of what you had imagined your life as, your identity as. For some, it might be something different. Like for a 35 years old person, it can be something which is just doing or evolving an identity or what was sitting inside them since ages. Or for a 52-year person, it can be something which they are doing to fulfill a dream or giving life to a dream which was dormant until now. And with that flexibility, there comes contribution, not just in terms of money, but contribution by something which you already have. By now, you have skills, you have experience, you have wisdom, you have a judgment. So you can start contributing with all of these skills now. And the kind of contribution, it brings something which an achievement alone cannot. It brings satisfaction, it brings meaning. It gives you a reason to live. It gives you a reason to stay relevant. And here is the progression. Retirement is the idea, and flexibility is the structure that enables it. Contribution is the outcome that fulfills it. Now, here's the important part. That life that you pictured earlier when you closed your eyes, to start or live that life, you don't need to wait for any date, any number, or any farewell cake. You can start that life now and from here, yes, from this stage when you're sitting in the audience seat. Here is my invitation. Start your retirement this week itself. 1 hour this week. Book a date with yourself after going home. Take that first step today. Use that 1 hour to create some time, some flexibility in your life to do something meaningful. It can be something small, but do that for yourself. And you might argue, like, oh, 1 hour, what will we do with 1 hour? But that 1 hour repeatedly, and then you will see the magic of a compounding. Because when you will invest that 1 hour in yourself to fulfill your own journey, you will see that magic. And that's how the next chapter begins. Because the goal is not to retire from life, but to re-attire your own way. Because maybe the life you are waiting for, it's waiting for you to push that button. And that push button is that 1 hour we are talking here. Use that 1 hour as a push button to start your own re-attirement journey. Thank you.